Kong in the trunk.
I'm back. Rhodes Rants on Star Wars. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Join the Rhodes Squadron. Today, we take a minute to ask who is really killing Star Wars at this point. Disney is certainly to blame, but how much of this is the quote Star Wars logo lover that is also to blame as well? What is a logo lover, you may ask? A logo lover is a Star Wars fan that sees the Star Wars logo and immediately decides to consume the product with no context, no emphasis on demanding a quality story or story group. Someone that defends every single Star Wars product created. I should first preface this by saying logo lovers can be very good people with a passion for Star Wars. I have two friends that I know personally that fall into this category. They love Star Wars, and they are my age. Early 40s original trilogy fans. They grew up with the toys and consuming Star Wars in the theater, and then on VHS, regularly, hundreds of times over and over and over again. I think I used to be a logo lover to a point. I did not consume the books, as I just enjoy and have more interest in live action media. And to a point, video games like the original Battlefront games that came out 15 years ago. I did not love the prequels like many did, however my friends did. They refused to see any flaws in the screenplay, use of effects, and at times, cringy dialogue. Then comes The Last Jedi. In my opinion, an abomination of a Star Wars film. I feel the movie was poorly written, rushed, edited poorly in certain places, lacked the vision to place the correct musical score with certain moments of the film. It also failed to do the most important of jobs for a middle film of a trilogy: develop and further progress the character development of the core. In this case, Finn, Poe, and Rey. The movie is also littered with useless, not needed political agendas, and in my opinion, gave a complete middle finger to not only fans, but to previous director J.J. Abrams, who worked on The Force Awakens. However, my two friends loved the movie. When I asked them to explain, they reply with, quote, "It's Star Wars," quote, "What's not to love?" I have tried to explain the political agendas and they refuse to acknowledge they exist, and always reply, quote, "You're reading way too much into a Star Wars movie." Nope, they are card-carrying members of the Republican Party and are massive Donald Trump supporters. They can see agendas in every other walk of life, but refuse to acknowledge them in Star Wars. When I asked both parties, what about the treatment of Luke? Going into hiding and simply giving up. Their reply is always, "Oh, you mean like Obi-Wan went into hiding?" And of course, I've tried to explain this is not the same premise. They just simply reply with, quote, "You guys on YouTube," quote, "You have lost your minds." Now, I should acknowledge both of these gentlemen are extremely successful on a personal and business level, and in many ways are just simply too consumed with everyday life to sit down and watch many of the YouTubers' videos on The Last Jedi. And that is not a negative. That is just a manner in which their life is structured, and when I worked in the corporate world, I related to this lifestyle more. I also think of a gentleman on Instagram that dressed up in his Jedi robe and saw The Last Jedi 7 times. He was about 40 to 50 years old, and I thought, wow, what could you have possibly gotten from this story that connected you with this movie and want to support it 7 times over? The Last Jedi was the first Star Wars film I had not seen multiple times in the theater. There was also an instance of walking through a local department store and a gentleman in the toy department describing Luke's final moments to another employee as, quote, "unbelievable and the most heroic thing Luke has ever done." I could not help but interject and say, quote, "No, it wasn't," as I walked by. Rude, I know, but this was a mere 3 days after seeing The Last Jedi, and the feeling of nausea still turned in my stomach. For the first time in my life, I hated a Star Wars movie. The question I always ask myself is, what part of The Last Jedi is enjoyable to them? Are they simply caught up in the fact that Star Wars, in whatever form this was, is on their screen and in turn want to support it? Do they feel they are somehow not allowed to push back at the makers of Star Wars because of the greatness we were given in the past with the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy? Although I did not love the prequels, I can acknowledge the story itself was extremely solid, even if I didn't love the execution. You see, these fans have the knowledge we have in Star Wars. They know a Jedi should go through perils, have to train, have to fall in order to take the next step on the journey to becoming a Jedi. However, they somehow have chosen to dismiss this fact when it comes to Rey. Once again, quote, because it's Star Wars. Quote, because what's not to love? I also believe that some of our known shills are logo lovers. The one that comes to mind is Mark Riley from Collider. I admit to watching The Rule of Two with Riley and Mark Fernandez, because it is an interaction between somebody that loves everything Star Wars and Fernandez, who loathes everything Disney has put out, not even being a big fan of Rogue One. Riley always says, quote, just give me my Star Wars. Why do logo lovers not want to push back on the story creators of this Star Wars product we consume? Are they scared Star Wars will disappear like it once did for decades at a time? Do they feel we in the fandom menace just like to bitch and complain? My two friends swear up and down we are a product of having too much time on our hands. My friends swear up and down we are a product of having too much time on our hands, and we simply will not let ourselves, quote, enjoy what we've received. Of course, I disagree with this logic. I'm always telling them that this product may never improve as long as logo lovers refuse to hold the powers in charge at Lucasfilm accountable, that they too have to reach a breaking point. However, it is my belief that logo lovers may not have a breaking point. They are supporters of Reylo, a potential Star Wars storyline I can't imagine a real Star Wars fan supporting. However, they do. And make no mistake, they are real Star Wars fans. Just different. How much of the Star Wars fandom makes up logo lovers? My line of demarcation is The Last Jedi Rotten Tomato audience score, which is about 55% against and about 45% for the film The Last Jedi. So imagine that every 45 Star Wars fans out of 100 support Disney no matter what. They would rather be, quote, consumers of the product rather than a voice on the direction of the product. We in the fandom menace have said we want better storytelling. We want people in charge of Lucasfilm that cares about this product in the same way we do. Whether it's Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, or a rising star, we do not know yet. However, that fight will always be uphill as long as a certain section of the fan base refuses to acknowledge that there's even a problem. If you like what I've said here, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will know when I'm ranting about Star Wars. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.